A homecoming to remember.
I'm home!
It was with a hop, a skip, and a joyous flap of her new wings that Twilight Sparkle the Alicorn made her way up the familiar path to her parents' house in Canterlot. She briefly toyed with the notion of saying hi to her old friend Moondancer after arrival, but decided to catch up with the glasses wearer and the rest of the gang at a later date.
I'm sure I won't forget. It's not like she'll still hold a grudge when I missed her party that one time ages ago and became a social recluse afterwards, right?
In any case, the journey there had been an arduous one, because as far as flying was concerned, Twilight was still on metaphorical training wheels.
Rainbow Dash's lessons are going well, but those painful crash landings have got to stop. Also, I'm so grateful for Spike for taking over as temporary substitute mailmare for Derpy. That has to be the first mid-air collision that she's been in that wasn't entirely her fault.
Twilight shook her anxiety-ridden head vigorously, trying to remove all lingering doubts. Negative thoughts never helped any pony, and with her new form now came extra responsibilities that she'd have to be fully prepared for.
I can't let Princess Celestia down. She entrusted me with this awesome power and I have to prove myself worthy of it.
The ex-unicorn firmly resolved, while knocking on the door in a certain way that her parents knew who it was.
At least there are two ponies here who will always believe in me no matter what. It's been so long since I've seen my folks, I'm positive that they'll greet me with open hugs. And won't they be surprised when they see my new look?
Twilight was halfway through her special knock before the door was flung open by none other than Twilight Velvet and Nightlight together, almost as if they'd been waiting there for her all along.
Mom, Dad, you're home! I'm so happy! I have big news!
Twilight eagerly spoke, while wildly gesticulating to the feathered adornments on her back. She was expecting, in no particular order, hugs, kisses, congratulations, many questions, and perhaps a pre-baked celebratory cake in the oven. Although Pinkie had already more than covered her in that department. But what she actually got were blank stares and lowered eyebrows. And a firm rebuke from all ponies, her own mother.
Twilight Velvet Sparkle, we are both very disappointed in you, Philly. How could you possibly agree to such a thing without consulting us first? Yes, how could you... Well, what your mom just said.
A stunned Twilight didn't quite know how to respond to that pointed accusation. She'd expected some kind of significant reaction from her parents, but nothing resembling this. Plus, there was the fact that this shock news didn't seem much of a surprise to them at all.
Wait, what? You know already? How can this be? Knew about it? Knew about it! It's all every pony for miles around has been talking about. The milkman arrives this morning and says, "Did you know about your daughter?" The newspaper lands on our doorstep. Guess what every story's about inside? We go for a walk to get some fresh air, and we can't move for pony shaking our hooves and offering us hugs. I tell you, Twilight, our lives have been turned upside down for the last 24 hours, more than you could possibly imagine. Your mother's right. We haven't had a moment to ourselves since then. It's got to the point where we can't even take the garbage outside without some eager colt wanting our autograph. We've even had offers of turning our home into a Twilight museum, where guests can tour the birthplace of the first unicorn ever to be organically transformed into an alicorn, snacks provided. I tell you, Twilight, that sales stallion was so slick I almost made me and your mother homeless overnight.
Twilight's mouth fell open more and more at the unwanted attention her parents had been subjected to since her ascension, and didn't quite know what to say in her defense.
I'm so sorry. I never knew it would be like this for you. I thought you'd be proud.
It was at this juncture that Twilight Velvet and Nightlight stopped complaining and glanced at each other guiltily, almost as if their somewhat harsh words had been taken out of context.
Oh, sweetie, we are. It's just such a huge change, that's all. For every one of us, we'll just have to get used to it, just like how you adapted so quickly to becoming the savior of Equestria.
Twilight Velvet wasted no more time but rushed over to give her daughter the most loving of embraces.
You brought Celestia and Luna back together, defeated Discord, saved Shining Armor's wedding day, restored the Crystal Empire. How can we possibly not be the proudest parents in the entire world?
Nightlight soon joined the huddle, and before she knew it, Twilight was flanked on both sides by a pair of affectionate and apologetic parents.
But you said you were very disappointed in me.
Twilight struggled to maintain her composure through tears of relief and happiness.
That was my fault. I should have chosen to express myself more clearly.
Twilight Velvet smiled as she attempted to clarify her original remarks.
What I actually meant was... Oh, you know how your mother likes browsing through her photo albums. And now with your bigger size, sharper horns, wings and all, a lot of the older ones look out of date. Thank you, dear.
Twilight Velvet scowled at her husband for unnecessarily finishing off her sentence.
That's why I said I wish you asked us first. We could have prepared everything earlier without having to rush around once you'd arrived. Rush? Prepared? What do you mean? have to be back in Ponyville later to help Rarity select my dress for the princess ceremony tomorrow.
Twilight didn't know whether she was coming or going, as plans were made involving her without prior approval.
Oh, is that all? Don't worry about it, darling. I've already spoken to Celestia and got the ceremony pushed back by a few days.
Twilight Velvet smiled up at her daughter, as though this answer gave the Alicorn the reassurance that she needed.
As soon as I told Celestia what we had planned, she couldn't stop laughing. Said that she didn't want you to miss it for the world, and it was of far greater importance than a mere crowning. What a kind and understanding teacher you have. We're so glad that we sent you to our school. More important than me becoming a princess.
Pondered Twilight, still completely lost as to what was going on and what Celestia had agreed to on her behalf.
And what exactly do we have planned? Why, we're going to retake all the photos from you when you were a unicorn to reflect the majestic way you appear now.
Nightlight beamed before whispering gently into his daughter's ear.
Please do this for your mother. It didn't mean the world to her. It's all she's been talking about all night, and I promise it'll be over soon. We'll start here in the dining room and recreate our last meal together before we moved out. Then we can gradually make our way around Canterlot, the local library which you loved, the sidewalk where you fell and lost your first tooth, that sort of thing. Oh, but what about our days out though? We'll have to get tickets for Appaloosa, Philadelphia, Manhattan. Cadence can help us out with the ones where you were tucked in for the night, and your brother surely won't say no to a few tastefully done tub shots.
On and on Twilight Velvet droned, reciting by memory all the images from the past that she wanted redone, and as Nightlight gazed at his daughter sympathetically, a single solitary word broke through Twilight Sparkle's usually verbose and articulate egghead.
Help.
That was super sweet and funny all around. And there's no doubt that they acted similar or exactly like this when they first found out. Anywho, let's get on to our memorable donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Austin Rolan, CrazyColor557, Stu Hex, Will, James Burner, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Cadge, Runslife9852, Leslie Prickett, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, and many more amazing people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.